How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Day of the Dead Bloodline from 2017, directed by Hector Hernandez Vicens. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that last name, and stars Sophie Skelton as Zoe. This is a remake of George Romero's Day of the Dead, and coming from 2017, this is probably the most recent of the extended Romero zombie movies. So anyway, Zoe is a medical student. She is at her school, and she's taking blood from this guy named Max because he has lots more immunities than most people do, and the school wants as much of his blood as they can get, so they siphon from him regularly. However, there's a problem. Max is obsessed with Zoe, and eventually gets to the point where they have to kick him out, and you know something's gonna happen. He shows up again at this party later and begins to try to assault Max. However, the zombie apocalypse starts at this moment. He gets bitten, and fortunately Max is able to get away. Now, it cuts to years and years later. You know, a long time has passed, and she's living in a bunker protected by the military. But then one of the girls in the bunker gets sick, and she goes, "Hey, locked up in my old university is the medicine we can use to cure her." They go back, get the medicine. However, Max is still there, and because of his immunities, he is a more intelligent zombie than average. They get away, but Max follows them back to the bunker, sneaks in, and begins a little bit of a reign of terror trying to get back to Zoe. However, when she finds out that there's a more intelligent zombie, she begins to wonder if she can figure out what's different with him and maybe make a cure for the whole thing. So, anyway, I guess to get into the criticism, first thing I have to mention is this does this weird remake trope that happens all the time, and I'm not entirely sure why they keep doing this, and that's where they mix the names up for no good reason. Zoe is Sarah from the original, Max is Bub from the original, and they call Rhodes, I think it's Miguel in this one, and I don't know why they can't be Rhodes and Sarah and Bub, but they felt the need to change that. But anyway, I guess we should get into Max, who is basically Bub. In the original, the doctor was training the zombie. He worked and earned Bub being able to be intelligent, and I really liked that. It really worked with the themes Romero was setting up, and you got to see the zombies change in a way that didn't feel cheap or gimmicky. But in the 2008 remake and in this remake, they have to say, no, he has a lot more of his memories just naturally. In this one, it's also the immunities. And both remakes decide to ignore the idea that he's trained, and I really don't like that. With this one, they did try to do something new and different with him, and I can appreciate them trying something, and it is interesting for what it's worth. I still like the original a lot better. I really love Bub in the original Day of the Dead. And I mean, I'm glad to see him in this one. I've seen remakes go completely off the rails and forget whole elements. I'm glad the character didn't get cut, and they tried something new. And it was an interesting idea. I just didn't like it as well as the original. But, I mean, congrats for trying, I guess. There's also, when he sneaks back in, one of the sillier moments in this movie. This isn't as silly as the 2008 movie, but one of the sillier moments is Bub/Max sneaking back in, and he's doing all sorts of stealth zombie stuff. Like the idea of a zombie, but he's smart, but not just smart, but smart enough to, you know, do stealth things like duck behind stuff and sneak through the air vents. that just came across as a little silly. And I do want to say, because this is something that people really get on about, the zombies can run. They're not as fast as the 2008 zombies, but for those of you that are pure, slow, and shambling, these probably go a little too fast for you, which is always worth noting. And then, I guess the next thing is, the original Day of the Dead, everyone seems so desperate, and the fighting seemed natural. Here, it's a lot of just, it seems like bickering, and it seems like whatever decision they make, it's always gonna lead to bad repercussions, and you're like, oh, you couldn't handle that, all that terrible stuff happened. But yeah, it's kind of bickering and fighting among the characters that didn't feel as earned as the original. And the last criticism is a lot of this is shot in a more clean fashion. You know, a lot of stuff where you say, like, that should be better, but it's just not as good as the original. And, like, you look at the death. There's one death in Day of the Dead that everybody knows and remembers, and it happens pretty close to that in this remake, and they do lots of cool, flashy shots with this death, but even though on paper you would think this would be better because it's the cool and flashy shots, it's just not as good as the straightforward way the original is told. Now, those are my complaints. Yeah, it's clean and flashy, but not as good, and you'd think it would be, and they try to set up all the characters to have these big emotions, but in the original, it's a lot better. But that being said, those are my flaws with this movie, but I don't want to hammer on it too hard. Unlike the 2008 one, this actually is in the bunker for most of the movie. It takes place at the right part of the cycle, after the zombies have overrun everything, unlike the 2008 movie, and it takes a lot of steps in the right direction. It was an entertaining, fine zombie movie. Now, some people I know, they say the 2008 one is silly and they can watch it for that, and this one isn't near as silly except for the bub stealth scenes, but I feel like this one is a lot more put together and a lot more watchable. And this one did come in 2017 in the era where everyone's super cynical, and the thing is, if you look at a lot of the other Romero remakes and spin-offs to the Night of the Living Dead series, this is actually one of the better ones, and it just came at a later time when people are more into tearing these movies apart. The thing is, this is a fine zombie movie. It's nowhere near the original Day of the Dead. I don't want you to think I'm saying that. The original Day of the Dead is a classic. It's the most underrated of the original series. And while this is nowhere near close to that, it's still an entertaining zombie movie. It's way better than the 2008 one, and unless you're looking to laugh at a movie, this is clearly the better choice. I was actually really worried about this one. The red letters and the spine, the artwork kind of reminded me of Night of the Living Dead Resurrection, which is my least favorite out of the spin-offs or remakes, and I was worried it'd be a lot like that, and thank goodness it is not made by the same people. It is completely different. It's a fun zombie movie. Pretty well made, pretty well put together. Nowhere near the classic as the original. Totally fine to watch. But anyway, out of the Day of the Dead movies, this is probably second to the original. I've covered Day of the Dead, The Need to Feed, that's the 2008 one, and I got to get to Day of the Dead 2. I will review Day of the Dead 2 Contagium on this channel. That is a weird movie. Anyway, for those of you who watched this far, thank you for watching. I do about 95% horror on this channel, and I'll be back again really soon. Over here, I should have a playlist. It'll probably be the zombies playlist. So if you want to see what are the zombie movies I reviewed, they'll be over there. Anyway, thank you to everyone who's liked and subscribed. You really do help out the channel. And I'll see you again very soon. Have a good day.